Hello, welcome to PODnas. This is a sports show with a Cajun flair. I am Daniel Hawks. This is Jarrett Roser. I'm not even going to try it. Today, we're going to be going through the recap of the LSU baseball super regional, which they unfortunately lost. We are going to go over the foul heard around the world with Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, the Chicago Sky, how the medias handle it, and also NCAA's football coming out, and the ratings they're getting people in a tizzy. Jarrett, how are we doing today?
Good, man. I guess I jumped right in when we talked Friday of the excitement of LSU baseball was rolling, and so obviously not quite the same level of excitement for baseball fans right now as LSU became the sixth of six Louisiana schools to fall out of the regionals, and college baseball season is done in the boot.
Yeah, sad to see. Um, that was a good game. I mean, actually, all the games in the Chapel Hill Regional that I got to watch were pretty good. After not being in on the LSU baseball season really at all, I went full throttle this weekend, which I guess is nice. I'm not sure, whatever you guys think. So,
Yeah,
um,
that regional, man, they start with two walk-offs on Friday in the opening games, and then have to go into extra innings on Monday night to decide it. So they push the limits of that regional for sure. But ultimately,
I
North
mean, and
Carolina is a great team that was hosting for a reason, and they come out on top of it in a 1-run extra inning game to advance.
and I mean, shout out to what is it, Helmers, the relief pitcher. He was just
Yes,
He was just dominant for about 5 innings, like, no one could touch him, it was great, and, the kid on
a
the
Jesuit
UNC
New
side as
Orleans
well.
product.
Hey,
Yeah,
look at that. That's where
William
we get that
Christopher
Cajun
Helmers
flair, alright?
William Christopher Helmers from Metairie, Louisiana, a Jesuit New
Ah,
Orleans grad.
I did, so this is a little side note, a little inside story for those who don't know, when I first met, Mr. Hellman, it was for a UNC LSU basketball game, and I grew up a big UNC fan, so I split my fandom. I was wearing UNC up top, LSU on bottom, and he had no clue what to think. I was meeting him up, and he was looking for someone in all LSU, and here I roll up in some baby blue. I almost texted him yesterday, and I didn't. Like, don't worry, I'm wearing all LSU stuff today. Hey, which I was. I was rooting fully for LSU. So,
To clarify, and I don't know if it got fully explained there in the midst of all that as we're talking about Will Helmers, but Daniel's talking about David Hellman of
yeah,
Fox Sports or whatever Hellman works for now, was on Speak for years and does a lot of NFL stuff for Fox. But this is the second straight pod recording now where somebody brought up a level of North Carolina fandom, whether for you or in the last one for me. And I felt the need to clarify that no one here was wishing North Carolina well
yeah.
this week on the diamond.
No, not at all, not at all, not in the slightest, which I think is growth for me, so I'll just leave it at that. Um, where does LSU go from here? How many people are going to the draft? Is there reason for optimism with the way they kind of finished out the season going into the next season? I know college baseball in the boot, in the Red Stick specifically, is always such a big deal. What do they have to look on the horizon coming up for next season?
Yeah, I think as frustrating as it is to see the 23 national champions fall short of reaching even the supers, let alone Omaha this year, a team that had a high expectations. They the way that they worked through some of the ups and downs this season and found their stride and really caught fire late and showed a lot of fight in the big picture, as well as you saw it a lot in the SEC tournament and in this regional, just the ability to shake back and be mentally tough and whatnot, I think was something that kind of a legacy that this team will leave and give people a lot of reasons to be proud for the season they had. And again, there were 6 Louisiana schools in the regionals this week, and I think that similar things can be said for all of those teams that, fans of those programs are really kind of proud of the seasons they put together overall, even though they wish this weekend would have went a little bit differently. And I know for LSU in particular, you look at the performance of some of the underclassmen that will be back. The guy that we talked at length about last
The
time, Steve
monster.
Milam, he's a freshman that they should have for another 2 years at minimum. And so when you look at some of those key pieces that were a part of this team and showed big playability and big shake back ability and mental toughness and fight as part of this team at an early age, knowing how many of those pieces will be back again next year with another phenomenal recruiting class coming in, probably once again, as has been the case under Jay Johnson, some key transfers in some spots. There's no reason not to be really optimistic about LSU's potential next year. And I think that's kind of part of the expectation for LSU baseball, is that they expect to have high expectations every single year. And Jay Johnson is there for sure.
Hey, I love Jay Johnson's interview yesterday during it. It's the first time I really got to hear him speak on the mic, being someone that's not around that around Baton Rouge and around the hype around that team so much with me being up in Chicago. So it was nice to kind of hear from him. I really like at least him as a coach from what I got to hear. We always kind of talk about who are the coaches in the LSU and the Louisiana that kind of command attention. And he definitely at least commanded a little bit of mine yesterday in his interview with how he was talking about his program and his guys on that team and everything like that. So excited to see what's next.
No doubt. It's tough right now too. When you look, we talked last week about the potential of, if Arizona didn't come out of its regional, that LSU had the potential to be hosting a super next week, which would have been the case with the 3 seed West Virginia winning the Tucson regional. And so you started to see over the course of this weekend a really great path line up for this LSU team. But at the end of the day, North Carolina is a great program and was a great team in its own right. As I mentioned before, they were hosting for a reason, and they were more consistent throughout this season, and they came up with some more play. The Honeycutt kid was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was.
Fielder.
I do want to give a shout out to all the Tiger fans that traveled, because you could hear them so loud on the broadcast. You could hear them even taking over Go Heels, Go Chance. It was great. It was absolutely wonderful. So the amount in which LSU travels, especially for that baseball team, I think is always incredible, and love how much our fans show up for that across sports. So shout out to that. So the actual big news, I think, that overtook the national media this weekend was Kennedy Carter gave Caitlin Clark a very hard foul. And everyone lost their mind. It was a dirty play. It was not a basketball play. That's fine. It happens. She's a rookie. I've seen worse stuff happen to rookies on the football field or on the basketball court. Like, she got called the B word and knocked down. I've been called the B word and knocked down before. Granted, it hasn't been on any type of stage or broadcasted sporting event, but it's definitely happened. I think what we kind of wanted, because I in no way as a straight white male want to get into to how this affects those ladies and what they are feeling as being of any other color and gender than I am. But what I can say is that the national media has gone just absolutely effing crazy, and it's been so wild. Anything having to do with Caitlin Clark is just overblown and taken to a whole nother level with any of this stuff that has happened. That, yeah, is it necessarily a good play? No, I don't think it's a good play. Is this like something that is out of context in professional sports in general? No, it's not. It happens. Especially when someone comes in that was and get the Kershaw ready, that was hot college. They get knocked down a peg. It happens all the time. It happens.
Tale as old as time. We grew
Song
up
as old as rhyme.
You don't expect necessarily we don't see the same things in the NBA today as we saw when we were kids, but we've been watching a lot of NBA between the two of us for 30 some odd years now or whatever, growing up on fans of that league as much as anything. And this is every single year to some extent. You're watching high profile rookies have to go through the ringer a little bit, and the veterans kind of to some degree on court hazing them. Obviously whatever happens behind the scenes happens behind the scenes as well. But in terms of physical play and hey, you think you're that great? Let's, as you said, knock you down a peg, humble you a little bit. You're going to have to earn those stripes at this level. And so I thought what we saw was, we use this word in one of the early conversations. There's just no nuance to conversations anymore, particularly in the social media world. And I think we saw that in a big way this weekend in terms of, was this probably a dumb, in how obvious it was, foul on Kennedy Carter, and they end up losing that game by 1, I think, by the end of it. Yeah, she went after Caitlin Clark in as clear and obvious and blatant a way as she could have. There was no way
Yeah,
she was
if
going
you're
to get
gonna
away
do
with
that,
that.
do that on like a rebound. Do that not on
Yes.
an inbound. An inbound where she's gonna get the ball.
Yeah. But at this, and so there was no way she wasn't going to get caught for that. And I think some of her frustration after being fouled, but it not called by Caitlin Clark, a play earlier, and just some of the back and forth that had built to that point, kind of boiled over for her. But the reaction to this, as though it's, time to clutch the pearls and we've never seen anything like this, and everybody's targeting Caitlin Clark as though we've never seen anything like this before, was a little bit insane. And the degree to which some of the most prominent national sports media across platforms they were absolutely losing their minds debating aspects of this. It's been really bizarre. I don't know, man. From a basketball standpoint, it just was what it was. It was a hard foul that is going to get called, but is kind of a part of the sport in so much as it's a foul. It's not a basketball play, but it happens. And
Yeah.
everything from there with the racial implications and what all else is just kind of a byproduct of where we are as a country, and an ability to have conversations of nuance, and everything having to be polarized and black or white, not necessarily meaning racially, but it has to be this polar extent or that polar extent, and I've got to dig in and go crazy to whichever side I want to pick.
Hey, but I think small sliver. It's one of the first times the WNBA has dominated a weekend of headlines. Regardless if that's good or bad, I hope some more good news comes with that soon, and
Yeah,
but
that's
it
something
is
we
out
talked
there.
about in college with the Angel and Caitlin dynamic, going back to last year's national championship game, and the amount of opinions that were fired around, and the amount that people were talking about women's college basketball, and how insane some of that conversation got, is as annoying as a lot of it is. The extent to which some of it goes at this point is a positive sign, a silver lining to take from the fact that people are this passionate about this sport that has been kind of in the background for a long time now. And it's it really feels like we're getting. I'm not saying that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, but in terms of some level of interplay and two fantastic talents at the forefront of a draft class, or a young crop of talent coming in over the span of a year or two, for them to kind of take this to the next level of visibility, they seem to have some parallels there.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And we'll see how it goes middle of the season. I know the Sky and the Fever, Indiana Fever, are both gonna probably not make the playoffs this year, but that's fine. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how this grows. I think basketball in general has a lot of bright spots coming up with how many young, talented players are on both sides, men and women. So I'm excited to keep watching, but I'm a basketball stan. I'm going to say that no matter what. I said it last episode. So did I actually get it right? No, I didn't get it right. All right, cool. I,
Just now, I think third time the charm.
I'm still, guys, I'm not going to be able to point at a correct function. Nope. Yep. There we go. I got it.
Two for five for those keeping score at home.
Yeah, and that would probably give me like I think on my pointing rating, it's at about like I'd say about a 50 or 55. Not unlike not unlike the Texas State lineman who just saw that he was rated a 55 overall in the upcoming NCAA football 2025 that is going to be dropping next month. I am not excited about it at all, if you can't tell. So Texas State, their Barstool account reached out to EA Sports and said, "Yo, you forgot our second deck because they had our second deck." They had a video where they showed the Texas State Stadium, and they forgot a massive part of the stadium. In that clip, there is a substitution coming up for a lineman. And Jared, you're gonna have to say this name. It is what? We'll put the
Um,
we'll
uh,
put the clip
um,
up right here, but it's right there.
a Mecca Obigbo.
Yeah, that guy said 55 overall question mark, question mark, question mark. And we were talking about how there are gonna be so many college kids that are humbled.
Yes.
As
That's
soon as this on January, what is it? Or July 19th. July 19th, we are
mm,
gonna get, I think, one of the biggest humbling days that the internet has probably ever seen.
yeah, there are going to be a lot of talented young men in their feelings in a major way when these video games drop and more guys see their rankings. And it was funny the way that all this came out that you kind of laid out, because it really was just kind of a peripheral stray that he happened to notice. It wasn't the point of the initial post, but one of those things that he kind of saw and was a little bit taken aback by him only being a 55 rating. And I think having dealt so much with recruiting, the recruiting process, different high school athletes recruitments the last few years, and the amount of rankings, scouting rankings and stuff that go into that process every year, and seeing some of the frustrations when every kid thinks he's a top 10 kid. Every kid that isn't ranked number 1 in the state is pissed because they think they should be number 1, and so you end up every single year with multiple guys that are very clearly not the elite prospect of a class, but feel like they're just as good as anyone. And I think part of that comes with being an athlete, and you need to have a level of confidence, borderline cockiness in some ways, to think you're as good as anyone out there on the field and can compete with anyone. But at the end of the day, every guy is not a 99 on that game. And so a lot of people are going to, after agreeing to have their name, image, and likeness be a part of it, being excited, signing up for it, yeah, definitely put me in the game, are going to see their ratings. And I don't know if there's
Man,
going to
get me
be
out of this
some,
game right now.
I don't know if there's going to be some regrets, but there's going to be some ticked off dudes around this country when they realize,
Oh,
when they think they should be at least a high 80s and they're in the 70s and 60s or 55. It's going to be a lot of people taken to the Twitter
how
sphere.
how many over under do you think are gonna go in and change their rating?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
Like maybe everyone? Or do you think some are just gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna look at this every day. I'm gonna look at this every day.
This is my
And use it as
motivation.
this is my chip on my shoulder. This dude, a big bo, oh, oh,
Oh, big Bo. Oh, big Bo.
big bo. That's what I would do. That's what I do, man. If you want to take my advice, I'm just out here living in my mid 30s in Chicago, not playing sports. So if you want to take my advice, it is there for you. All right. Use that as some locker room material.
I imagine there's going to be a Daniel Hawks create a player at some point on this game in the near future, and that person is going to be higher than 55. And
Yeah, it'll be a different name. It'll be Salamander Jenkins because that's my name.
sure.
Yeah, that's my fake name. So if you ever hear of a Salamander Jenkins doing anything, it's probably me. Unless there's a real Salamander Jenkins out there that's doing stuff. And shout out to you for having the best name ever.
Is that's a family name, a Christian name? What is that? Where's Salamander come from?
In college we made up we said if we are gonna ever have nicknames or fake pseudonym names or the blah, I'm doing great. If you could ever have a fake name, if you're going to check into a hotel, if you were ever famous, we picked an animal and then a basic last name, and mine was Salamander Jenkins. I believe someone else. And the whole reason started is because we found out this old pitcher from like I believe the teens, 19 teens or the 20s, was Hippo Vaughn, real
Uh,
pitcher. And we just started going off. I think there was like a Meerkat Jones. There's a bunch of different stuff. All right. So
I thought you were
um,
gonna say Catfish Hunter at one point. I was like, that was far later than the teens, but that also fits the description here.
Catfish Hunter is a really good one. Unfortunately taken, but it is a really, really good one and fits the mold perfectly. That is all we got for you here today on PODnas. Jared, do you have anything else you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
No, man, that's it. Just looking forward to these NBA finals starting this week now. Thought we'd be balancing some LSU baseball with the finals, but it's basketball front and center
Yeah.
with the WNBA and the NBA finals.
Yeah, and we'll be here to cover that as well. Um, Maybe cover some of the World Series. We'll see. Anything else that comes up in the LSU world. We are Podnas. Please follow us on Instagram at Podnas_LA. Like us, subscribe if you want to see more content for the Louisiana versus All Y'all channel. Hit that like button, subscribe button below, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Podnas out.